Today I want to share with you another episode of Amplify Your Business, a replay, because I'm currently out of the office. As you can see, I'm sitting here in an airport, and so I wanted to queue up episode number 69, which is an episode that we filmed with the Range Road and / Butchery. So Range Road, a great restaurant in Edmonton. They did some really creative things through COVID, a lot of pivoting there, and they opened up the Butchery, which is a butcher shop basically that feeds their restaurant, but then also you can go in and pick up all sorts of great cuts of meat that are locally grown, locally sourced meats, and they have a knack for using the whole animal in their cooking. And so it's just a really cool concept that they have for their restaurant, as well as the butchery and some of the other things that they're doing there. So great pivots through COVID, really great story from a couple really incredible entrepreneurs. Check out the episode.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Amplify Your Business. We are on location today at Range Road. So this is one of the best dining experiences that you're going to have in Edmonton, but we had COVID, right? So how did they manage through that mess? We're going to find out. We're also going to talk to them a little bit about the butchery, which is another business that they started adjacent to this business. And so it's definitely connected and related. And so we're going to find out what the lessons were that they learned along the way as they were trying to navigate the construction of this new business, as well as pivoting their restaurant business to this at-home dining experience too. So let's go talk to them. So thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I mean, the restaurant business, you're always busy, right? And you guys now having the two businesses, which we'll get to the butchery in a little bit, must make for some really busy days.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is that no matter what happens, we're always bringing in food, and we're always expecting customers to come in. So every day has its, is different, but every day, you're just gonna be busy kind of preparing food and getting ready for the customers to come in. So there's a lot of the behind the scenes to get ready for that, so it looks seamless when people are dining.
Yeah, so now for those people who are watching this episode right now, if they haven't been to Range Road before, can you tell us a little bit about what Range Road is all about then? What's the basis of the concept here?
Well, I guess we always, just the basis of the concept was farm to table. We've kind of been in and out of that sort of, wording of it throughout the years. But we're 8 years, into the business now, and that's kind of exactly what it is. We go out and we talk to farms, and we ask them kind of what's at the height right now, what products are the best, and we've made really good relationships with them, and then we bring in that food and prepare it here. So the menu doesn't follow your traditional structure as well. We definitely play with a lot of Canadian foods that we kind of have coined Canadian cuisine. We don't of course we make some pastas and we make spatzel, and we do some things that are influenced by other cultures, but for the most part we try to just kind of let our ingredients shine and see how they end up on the plate. And so there's a lot of testing and a lot of making sure that we're happy with the products and the plates that are going out. But from that side of view, I think you get a unique dining experience here with different flavors, different textures, and different ways that we're preparing the proteins that we work a lot with.
Yeah, and that is really protein central, right? I mean, or centric. You guys really focus on the proteins, right?
They are focused on, but we love vegetables. We love vegetables so much, and we really work closely. We even work more closely with our vegetable farmers to make sure that we're getting a really nice section, and they're really pushing the seasons now. So we're starting to get fresh vegetables all the way in March, and we're kind of getting them right until November, December. So we just have like this little cellar season now that we're banking on those root vegetables that are hanging out in the cellar, but they're kind of the key to our success, is making sure that they're doing some really unique things for us.
And we've also wanted to always source our protein from the best, most sustainable, most ethically produced sources. So that's always been really important. So we know that every animal comes in one at a time through our door. It's completely 100% processed in-house, aged in-house, dry aged in our coolers. So we have, we are looking at that product specifically and managing that quality of that product from the time it comes through our doors.
Yeah, and that's also something that's kind of unique to what you guys are doing, is you're bringing in the whole animal and using that whole animal in all the dishes that you're creating then, right? And so that whole animal approach is quite unique. Is there many other people who are doing that? I don't think
Yeah,
so, right?
we definitely don't know a lot of others. Like we know people that love to use offcuts and people that love to use, different cuts, but then, we just kind of call it, we're not cherry picking what we want for this menu. We're just saying we're always using a whole animal. How do we use this whole animal? So it gives you a different perspective. When you see a carcass come in the building, we're kind of eyeing it up differently because we're already thinking about, 12 different dishes rather than just saying, people traditionally don't use pork jowl. I'm going to use a whole bunch of that. Now we're thinking of how do we use the jowl? How do we use the pork tongues? How do we use the head? How do we use the loin, belly, hocks, like all these sort of things. Yeah. So, pork, duck, even, goose, lamb, all these things we're using whole animals. And then of course the beef. And so, beef,
and we'll
everyone.
have a steak on our menu every day of the week. It's just not going to be ribeye every day or tenderloin every day.
Yeah.
It's always going to be changing as we move through the animal.
Yeah.
So as a chef, I mean, that is both challenging, but it must also be almost liberating in a way where you have the ability to really express and learn and do really different and unique things than what you would have been maybe taught in culinary school.
Yeah, and I think that's the number one thing is that it does both. It allows you to see what the possibilities are with dishes, but it also puts a restraint on you because you know that you're always having to use a different part of the animal. So it's like you're always thinking. So rather than just saying I'm going to just think up of one really good dish that's great for this season for 4 months, now it's like you're kind of changing. Twice a week we're changing how that is going to look and just how we're doing it. And so it's really dictated how our restaurant has evolved throughout the years as well. Some of our biggest items that we have to sell on our restaurant menu are the road trip. It's a blind tasting menu, 6 courses, and that means you don't know what you're getting until it shows up in front of you. It allows us to use all these different cuts because now we can change. We can do a table of 4 with one protein, and we can do a table of 2 with another one, and we can kind of use up all of these things. We also have questionable bits on our menu, which is not questioning. It's not fear factor. It's more about people question how do you use a whole animal in a restaurant. You're like, well, this dish right now has bone marrow and beef heart on it, and so questionable bits is huge for us. And then the kitchen board. Kitchen board just means that we are making a whole bunch of tasty sausages and meats, and we're putting them out on an appetizer board. The charcuterie board that you've seen in the everywhere throughout the years, we're just kind of fine-tuning that to how we use the animals here. And then different processes. So I think there's a lot of we have a lot of people that are really good at making sausages now, people that are really good at making some pâtés and terrines, and those are things that you don't see all the time. And our staff, we have a wonderful kitchen team, and this sort of operation is impossible to do solo or anything. There's just too much work involved, and so we just have a big crew, and everyone's in constant communication. And we have butchers that are butchering. We have the chefs that are coming up with the tasting menus. We have people that are doing the regular menu prep, and it all comes together. And that's where we're most excited is we do those sort of things. But even for us, we try to tie things together. If we poach rhubarb, all of a sudden we have this rhubarb syrup or something like that that's been made, and we pass it off to the bar, and the bar makes cocktail with the rhubarb syrup. And
nice. Yeah. And so this brings me back to my childhood, because I'm a farm kid from northern Alberta, and so there was no part of any animal that was ever wasted, right? And so my grandmother, my mother, I mean, they used every piece of it. And so when you talk about tongue and you talk about like oxtail and all these different things where people just are like, what the hell are you saying? Like, you guys don't eat that, right? Those are the things that I grew up, maybe begrudgingly having to eat at times, maybe a little bit, but it was always a bit of an adventure. And so at the end of the day, there's definitely a lot of satisfaction there, I think, from my family to use that and not have anything go to waste. And so it's just a real pleasure to meet people who are doing the same thing and approaching it the same way here, but with a much more elegant take on it too, because what you guys are creating are very unique and delicious and just really flavorful dishes, right? Yeah. Okay, so COVID, you guys were open throughout, except for probably when we had to be shut down when the mandate was on. How was COVID for you guys as a very I consider you an elite restaurant, a very prestigious place here in the city. So were you guys impacted the same as every other restaurant, or were you guys able to weather it better? What was your take on COVID?
Well, I'd say it was pretty difficult. I mean, it was many different stages of reinvention. Because a fine dining or elevated dining experience doesn't really translate well to take home necessarily.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge for us when we were mandated to shut down, and we were very cautious throughout. We often were shut down sooner than other places. But yeah, I think for many businesses, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall every week to see what sticks in terms of what you can offer people in an at-home environment. So for us, we tried casual comfort food. We couldn't do pizzas and burgers as easily as some other businesses because that's not what we're known for.
Yeah.
But we did pot pies, we did roast chicken meals, we did meatloaf, and it was crazy, the response and just the unpredictability of the response, because some weeks we would be swamped with orders, we'd sell out instantly, we'd try it again the following week, and we'd be shut out completely and sell maybe, wait for the phone to ring or the order to roll in, and we'd maybe get one or two.
So weird, eh?
So we did at-home wine experiences, which ended up being offering some measurable success, and we found kind of our niche in that way. And what we found was people were looking for an exceptional experience at home, and so any ways we could elevate that at-home experience seemed to be fruitful. So we did. We did Zoom cooking demonstrations out of our kitchen, setting off our smoke detector basically every time in our home kitchen. We did, wine packages, make at home meals, everything. I don't know. What am I missing? I feel like we did 100 different businesses in the last 18 months.
Yeah. Not only was it tough enough to be in the restaurant business to begin with, then you have this all that you're trying to sort through how to reinvent yourself for this at-home marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So that was during the lockdown, and then as you came out of the lockdown, then what changed? Anything?
Well, no, really the restaurant has been, I think that's the hardest part. It's just been unpredictable, and so people, wanted to come and dine as soon as the government said they were allowed to. So this July and August, it was people were coming out and dining, and we built a patio, and then 2 days later they cut off all service again, and so we've been through those highs and lows so many times in this past year that we're a little bit numb to what's actually happening, because we're just I don't know, we're just at the whim of everyone else, and we don't know what to do, and so we've just been trying to be here, offer food, offer a space for our staff to come and make sure that they're able to keep working, and we kind of just have said, let's do what it takes. And what we found is that works best for us is just kind of playing off what people wanted. Now we're sending out meals that they can cook at home, but they're really just reheat meals, and so we've kind of done all the work to get flavor into them, and people are reheating meals at home, and that kind of moved through to the butchery then as well. And so so not only did we have a restaurant that we were playing different versions of with every day, we were also in the midst of construction. We were also trying to build the butchery.
We were doing construction, and then we were creating a whole new business, one business that we've never operated in before, which is retail food service. So that was, another set of challenges. But what we found is once we've been open in the restaurant is that, and what's been good and positive, is it reinforced that Range Road still has a home in Edmonton, and we can be that home for people away from home, and so that feels really good. People have still been making reservations, filling our dining room, and really enjoying those elevated experiences that you can only get when you dine out. So the people are splurging on nicer bottles of wine, maybe they're getting the multi-course dinner a little more often, because those experiences they realize are irreplaceable.
And so do you find then that pent-up demand was overwhelming, or was it something that it trickled back as people returned then to in dining?
I think one of the things we were very cognizant of throughout the pandemic is keeping our team intact. That was really important to us. So we were looking for outlets like these take-home wine dinners or anything that would keep them engaged, so that we would be able to be ready for the onslaught that we knew was coming.
Yeah.
We knew, I mean, we had that feeling ourselves. We wanted to get out and be with our friends and be with our families. So if we're feeling that way, we got to be prepared that our community is feeling the same way. So I think was very helpful that we kept our team pretty engaged throughout, whether it was moving them to the shop. But we knew how important that would be, so that we could not be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's been busy.
Yeah, it's been busy, but that is definitely one of the harder things we've done in our restaurant career is reopening, as people are just kind of coming back to work. Everyone isn't sure how to be busy again. You haven't been busy. And so I think that was one of the hardest things was reopening in July to the volume that was coming in and what people wanted. And it just took time. It's like we would have never opened a restaurant in a week, and here they gave us kind of 1 week to say you're open again.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was just
It's
it was
no
just
joke.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
So
It's hard.
everyone really did an outstanding job to come together and pull it off.
Okay, so looking back, so you managed to get through all that. You did a lot of different things. But anyway, so what lessons did you guys learn along the way that other people maybe could borrow from you to try to learn from those successes that you guys were able to find?
Oh man, that is so tough, because we still have to have time to sit back and look at what has taken place. Some of the lessons that we learned is that we can't be someone's fried chicken place. People have these favorites around the city, and so we can't compete with that, because people love their hamburgers, they love their fried chicken, they love their pizzas, that sort of thing. So we think now that Range Road, this helps solidify that Range Road is what it is. People want to have our quality ingredients done the way we prepare them. They're not looking for the ham and pineapple here. They're looking for us to do something with juniper and all these different things. And so stick to what we do the best, and that's what people were really kind of striving towards. And then the more little options we have to brighten someone's day is also things that people were taking. And so if we were doing a brunch, but we would add on a mimosa kit where we're making our own fresh pressed juices and things like that. Those are the sort of things that people were like, that's what I want, and that's gonna help me, get over some of these blues that are happening out there. And so I think it's helped solidify that people like what we do, don't try to be something else, and just because we see so many people saying how much fried chicken they eat over the pandemic, I can't hop on that train. I don't do it as well, so let's just do what we do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that carving out that really solidifying your position as a comfort food, I mean, that really truly was something that a lot of people were looking for, right? And so I know for a guy like myself, the stuff that you guys create here is very much just fine dining on that comfort food, a fine dining take on it. And so that was something that I was really looking for was that comfort. And so maybe that's fried chicken for somebody else. For me, it wasn't that. It's more like what you guys are having.
I think it was finding a way to elevate that at-home package and really underscore that this is special, that you're treating yourself, that this we really looked at it in the end at every takeout box as a gift we were giving, sending out the door. So because initially, I think the shock of it, people have made the very successful transition to a pizza restaurant and are not going back to the old restaurant, which is also fascinating. So but that was not for us.
So I really want to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing over at the butchery, and this is not the butchery right here, but this is a really good spot for us to talk about it. So the butchery is just over there, but this is an incredible spot. So you actually rent this out as a private little dining experience. We have meat in the locker back there. There's sinks back there. You're actually using this as your butcher table, right?
Yeah, so for 4 years this was our butcher's table. So this had all the animals on it before we expanded into the larger butcher shop. So this did everything, and like you say, there's windows to see into the dining room portion of it, and then this is just what we kind of refer now lovingly to like the chef's table, the butcher's table. And so people will come in and book this out and sit here. And so it is quite nice. It's not the hottest room in the building because it was kind of designed for not heat in here. So we always tell people to maybe wear that wear that extra sweater when you come in here.
We have to heat it sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, and but this is where it is, and we have a rail system up here, so this is still a functioning part of our butcher's area. We just now that we've expanded, we haven't had to use it, but that's what kind of gave us the idea of the retail shop is that we would bring in whole animals here. Lots of our guests were asking about cuts, where we get our meat from and how do we get it. And then we would do once a month pop-up out of this little space where we would sell all of our sausages and charcuterie. And then we started to slowly get into saying, okay, well, I guess we could offer a steak every once in a while or a roast. And then it just kind of kept picking up steam to the time when we were like, oh, we have the option to take some more square footage in this same building, which allows us to kind of do everything close to each other, so we're not kind of separating how far we are away from work. We're allowed to do it all in one space. We thought, okay, we'll jump on it and give it a go. And next thing you know, we have a 4,000 square foot butcher shop that has 100 times the capacity of this.
Yeah, which is amazing. And so that's just adjacent, right over here. That's a retail shop. You guys are selling, is it just proteins that you're selling out of there?
I would say for the most part it's protein. So very classic butcher shop. We have some frozen foods as well. So we'll do some prepared foods, pot pies, pierogies, and then we'll do all the different cuts of meat that we have. So everything from roasts and sausages, hot dogs, and then we do our deli meats, which are things like pastrami's and salamis and porchettas and those sort of things. And
we also do soups and salads, like more deli fare to complement the other stuff. And then we also bake our own bread, which is very important, Blair.
Yes, I know.
We bake it in a wood-burning oven here on site. So
more than just protein. So
So everyday baking bread.
Yeah, and then again we offer sandwiches.
Grab-and-go sandwiches for lunch. We've got a range of beverages. We're also a licensed butcher shop, so that's something that.
So you're selling alcohol along with the steak to take home and throw in the barbecue.
We can pair up your cut of meat with a bottle of wine if you want.
Nice. Yeah, that's really unique. Then I don't know. Is there any other butcher shops in Edmonton that you can pick up your wine as well?
No, there's none. And the great thing is that we really wanted to make that such a real place that people can think to shop and have a good time. So again, as soon as COVID eases its grip on us, we have plans to do a happy hour. So it's a shopping happy hour. So now you can come and have some small little bites and food that we prepare, maybe a little taster of our draft beer, some wine while you're doing some shopping, and then decide what you're going to have for dinner.
Really nice. Well, now I know you guys are all about local, and so I know the beer you could be it's a craft brewery that you're partnered with, right?
We can't even keep up on the amount of craft breweries that have opened up.
Brewery every day.
and so we probably, you'd have a better number. We must have over 20 types of craft beer.
It's always rotating.
Yeah. And so with the wines then, is it mostly BC wines, or what do you guys do from a wine perspective?
Our wine list is more international. It's grown over the years. I mean, we've got a cellar that's over 100 bottles deep, so it's always, it's probably more like
100 bottles of red.
Yeah. It's probably a few hundred different SKUs, but there is a strong emphasis on Canadian wine. So we've got stuff now from BC all the way to Vancouver Island, and then all as far east as Nova Scotia. So
very good. So now tell me about the butchery. Why did you guys start that in the pandemic, or was this something that you were starting prior to the pandemic? How did this all?
We did not start. We did not want to start it during a pandemic. So we did take the space, in 2019.
Okay.
And we're kind of getting that whole process going. And again, a different process, an older building, lots of things to look through when we were getting that started. And so I would say that between going back and forth with the city and engineers and things like that, we had broke ground on the space in January of 2020, where we had cut concrete and getting ready to start laying some new plumbing lines, and then we all know what happened in March. And so we were just kind of in that early phases of it, and then when that hit, it kind of sets everything back in time frame and that sort of thing.
So when was the opening then? When did you guys open
It was officially November of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so really in the thick of it, right before right before the restaurant shut down to dine-in service. So
Yeah. And so any lessons that you guys can share there in terms of starting a business in the middle of the pandemic? And
Well, I think like the things that kind of give us, a little bit of sadness is that we wanted to throw a big party. We wanted to have this this was like our next version of what Range Road had to offer. Like this is the Butchery by Range Road. We wanted to have this party. We wanted to have the whole community here. And so that's where we just keep waiting because we were like, we want to throw a party so bad it's not even funny, and we want to have all these things flowing. And so we wanted this grand opening to be something that was going to show that we're here in the community for all of your needs, and we wanted everyone to see it. And so that's kind of that's why I don't recommend that. I'll say that one of the downers. And then I would say that our tradespeople understood what was going on. They knew that they were, still lucky to be working and doing all of their things. Like their industries didn't get as affected as much, and so they were really nice to work with, and they were kind of giving us all the details as to why they're not installing when they said they weren't. It's because things were now stuck in transit. So that transit, everything just came to the supply chain. I don't know. There was too many things that we didn't realize that we take for granted that you're like, oh man. And so there's a lot of things that we get done. Like we get tons of custom stainless steel done for us. We have woodworkers that are in the community. So all these sort of things people were chipping away at and doing, and then you're stuck on these two parts that have to come from overseas, and you're just like, I need that part. And so it makes us appreciate our local community as well. We pay a woodworker to do a fantastic job for what they're doing, but he has all those supplies that he's been letting dry out in his for 2 years waiting to use this wood, and so now they're using it. And so I think that was a lot of the fun parts that kind of kept us going. And eager was meeting all these people again and working with some of these local craftsmen that helped us build the shop. And now the shop itself, right off the bat, was nice and busy because restaurant went into lockdown. People still wanted good food, and so we saw.
So we were open in time for Christmas season, which couldn't have been better. So then we got to that was great because we got to get products to people's houses again, and it was.
Well, that's what I was just thinking as you guys were talking, because as people were locked down and couldn't go out to restaurants and that, then a lot more experimentation was happening within their own kitchens, right?
Totally. People would come in with recipes and a list of, obscure ingredients, and we got to be a part of that to source that stuff. Like oxtail was a huge request over the Christmas season, and it was often people who are from other countries who can't find it as easily here, but know these dishes so well. So
well, my grandfather would be happy to hear that because he was a big fan of oxtail, that's for sure. So then it almost in a way it might have been actually a really good timing to open the butchery then.
We were totally grateful to be able to open it.
That's good.
And again, it was that whole integration part of our business. We knew that that's a huge part of our business. So how do we look at making a little bit more out of using whole animals? And the answer is to be able to sell some of these cuts to the public, rather than only having restaurant. And we've already seen the benefits of it, now that we're open. So we spent the first, quarter of the year only having either the last quarter only having the butcher shop open, and then the first quarter, same thing. And so now finally in July, we got to see what happens when both places are open. And the flow through of our products is great. Now all of a sudden we're just like constantly bringing in new products, and it's just like kind of coming in, and it goes out to the retail, it goes to the restaurant. And we're making, we're doing some other prepared foods with it, and it's gone, and the next thing comes in. And so we love what we've built, and now we just want to get back to being able to do it all the time, rather than just these, are we allowed to be open, aren't we? Those sort of ideas.
So I mean, the big question that probably everybody has got on their mind, at least I do anyway, is, I mean, last winter was really crazy for you guys. You're opening this, you're starting another business, you're dealing with the pandemic. So is this winter you just going to put your feet up, or are you guys going to start some other venture? Like, what's next for Range Road, I suppose?
Oh boy.
There's no other venture, but we never get to put our feet up, I'll tell you that.
When we can put our feet up, that is the next. That's the next phase that we're getting. We want to get to.
This is still just in its infancy, and so we're just still seeing what can happen with the butchery, and we haven't done events there yet, so it's a great event space, and knowing that people can come in. So there's still a lot more to do here. We're 8 years old in the restaurant, almost a year old now in the the butchery, and we feel like we're still just kind of scratching the surface of what can be done.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. Well, everybody, this is the place to come if you're looking for a fine dining experience with that local farm to the table or farm to the fork experience. You're not going to find another place in Edmonton that can do what these guys can do. And at the same time, when you're down here, pick up a steak for the barbecue and enjoy some great food back at home as well. And if we do end up having to go back into the lockdown, you guys will be returning back, I'd imagine, with all the different things you were doing in terms of the at-home experiences, correct? Yeah. Okay, so stay tuned, everybody. This chapter is ongoing, right? Like, we just don't know exactly what's going to be happening. So thank you guys both so much for taking the time to tour us through and talk about your business, share some of the lessons you've learned. And I'm just so happy that you guys have been able to find some success through all of this craziness.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in checking out another episode, you can head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. That's where all the archives are. And if you're a small business who wants to be featured, please reach out to us because we'd love to talk to you. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.